So the other day I bought a vibrating plate, so we can now finally vibrate the living room and then start filling it up. So I want to fill it up while it's being vibrated. That way we get a nice and compact layer. So let's see if that thing runs and how it does. So I bought ourselves a cutting tool, which is this one, and it's nothing more than a knife which is getting hot, but it's super useful to cut this EPS stuff. It's really hard to get the saw through if it's 10 centimeters or 15 centimeters thick, and it just doesn't give straight corners. With the knife I do get nice straight edges. So I already cut some edges up there to bring it perfectly on level, as I got the laser standing there. I got my whole floor drawn up here, and now I can just put the laser up at the level that I want to do. So now I want to go up to insulation, which is starting from this dot here, and my laser is actually set up to be exactly on that line, and that's exactly 1 meter above the line, or above the point where we need to be. So I can measure up, and I can see at 1 meter I'm now at the correct height. And that's how we can measure things easily now in the house with a laser. So that laser is really helpful to do this kind of work here. So now let's continue driving in the sand to finish up this part of the living room so that it will be up to level. That would be really nice if we achieve that completely today. So you can see the meter lines, they are coming in nicely. So that's all working out. Since I took my driveway out, it seemed a logical choice to take the sand out of the driveway, as I had a thin layer of yellow sand in there, and I decided to excavate that off and put it all inside the house, as this sand was basically good enough to put under the concrete. So I decided to just excavate it off, and I know I drove out a lot, but the thing is I drive in better sand than what's coming out, and I needed it out before to get some back in, and loading it outside with the excavator is really easy, so I'm glad I did it this way, and I got really nice debris free sand this way, because the sand that came out had a lot of debris in that. So now we are actually bringing all that sand in, so loading with the excavator means just 1 bucket, and then I can drive it back in again, and that makes it a really nice job to do. It still takes a lot because you get tired of this, but you also move a lot of sand this way. So this seemed the perfect way to do it. So as we are digging, I slowly try to drive forward and not get in the clay layer to get as nice sand out of the driveway as possible. And only that should go in and not the clay. So I hope we get this dug out also, because I need the sand away from the driveway and I need it in the house. So it's a win-win for this. and it's a really smooth operation. So we made a lot of progress today. As you can see, we now have a flat sand bed here and also up to halfway here. So the last bit still has to be done, but it's Sunday, so I want to spend the evening a little bit more resting. So we are stopping for today, but we made some really nice progress. This is all vibrated and it's accurate within 5 millimeters flat, so that's really nice. So that's actually ready for the EPS and then the concrete. So we are making progress. We still need to make the sewer, however, but the guys told me it's easiest to do that once we leveled everything out and then dig new trenches in there and put the sewer in. That way we get it in the most decent way. Well, it's about time that we dig this one out. So I already got the excavator running and we're gonna dig all the yellow sand of this here, and maybe we need to go a little bit deeper, but that we have to see on the level that we get, and then we can start making concrete here. So let's get going. So at this moment we got more than enough sand in the living room, so we don't have to move it in there anymore. But we do need to dig this out, so I stack up all the yellow sand which is still in the driveway on a pile behind the driveway. That way at least I got it separated, and if we need anything more in the living room or anywhere in the garden at this moment, we can take it. So now it's time to fill up the last part of the living room. It has been raining for more than a week, so it means the sand is very wet. I piled everything up this week, so we now got 3 days of sunshine, and hopefully the water sinked out a bit out of that pile, and we can actually fill this up and level it out. I think that would be the perfect way to do it. Meanwhile, my contractor has been here, so he put up this construction here, and this is basically pointing out where the outside wall is gonna be, so also where I need to dig out everything. So I can use the excavator to do so, but it's still wet here, so I don't think that I'm gonna do that today. I just do the living room today, and yeah, this really needs to dry up a bit, but we do have some work to do at this position because there's a basement window here and I cannot just concrete it up. I need to do something with it so it doesn't fall in when pouring concrete. Another thing we need is an air line from the house outside because our basement needs fresh air. At the front door there is still some debris left which we need to remove so that we can build our extension here, and we have to fill this all up with sand and get it nice up to level. So I had to remove all that, and now it's nice and flat so that we can actually build the extension. So we got all this dug out now, and I did it this deep just to make sure that we are on decent ground to put flooring on. So from here on we're gonna put yellow sand in, which is way better to get a dense form. And what we also need to do is, this is the outside of the basement, so I want to dig this out as well, just like the inside, and get it coated and insulated with all the EPS that we got. So let's dig that up, so now we can use the excavator, which is a lot nicer. Just as inside the house, I also want to insulate the outside of the basement on the outside of the house. So we're digging that all up here with the excavator, and I'm painting it with a coating which is waterproof. This will seal the basement forever for getting water in, and hopefully we never get a bad basement again after this. After painting it, I also insulate it with EPS, so that way the basement should stay a little bit warmer during the year, and especially if we want to heat the basement a little bit to prevent humidity issues, then this should help in saving the cost of heating it up. I didn't pay too much for this EPS, so that's why it's actually going in the ground. I have been looking on eBay for a while to find small stacks of EPS to do these kind of jobs, which you wouldn't do with new EPS as it doesn't make a lot of sense to do, but I'm at this point and I just want to do it properly, so we do it this way. Now at the front door
I had to dig it by hand because there's a gas line and a water line, and I really don't want to hit any of these two with the excavator. So I dug this out by hand, cleaned it up, painted the whole wall here as well. So the basement got a nice painting here as well. I had to leave the window in because we do need that window opening for the future for the ventilation. So we're gonna make a ventilation pipe at that point. So I just put the EPS in at this moment how it is, and I cut it to length later on because I can cut it easily now with the hot knife, and that works just perfect. I also do this by small parts because I don't want to free up the whole foundation at once. So we got some progress today. So I put in some EPS here. I dug this out a bit, which is already invisible, and I got some news, which is that the soil we got here is not dense enough. So we need to get all the clay holding soil off, and that seems to go 1.20 meters below the garden level. So that's gonna be a lot of sand that we need to get out. So I need a team with tractors and an excavator in here, not my, but a bigger one, to dig this all out, because we need to dig this out fast, get new sand in, and then vibrate it with a heavy vibrating plate. So that's an additional thing that we need to do now. Unfortunately, I didn't count on that, but it just needs to happen to do it properly. So that's definitely gonna take a day somewhere in the upcoming weeks to do that job, to dig this completely out and put new sand in. I can do it with my excavator. The problem is I don't have a big tipper. I can borrow one, but the next problem is I cannot reach into it with my excavator. Then if I could bring the sand away, but the problem is I need to get new sand in straight away because I'm digging under my foundation, so it needs to be restored as fast as possible and all being compacted again. So that's why I need a team on that, so that we have a bit more speed on that, because I need to have a tractor drive away the sand and straight away get a new tipper with clean sand in, which we can actually compact. So that's the plan for that. Now I still want to finish that EPS in place because I like to have it all finished before I have a big excavator here. I can dig this up easily with my excavator and then close it up again. That way I got all that stuff in and I don't have to do it at the expensive time. And I got the big excavator in and the tractors with dumpers to bring in the sand, because that's where time is money. So we need to be as fast as possible when they are driving here. So I want to have this all done by then. So we're doing it now, and yes, I'm digging this all up twice this way, but at least it's not costing me double the money. This is the cheaper way, it's just more work. You can clearly see at this point how deep I dug here, so we're completely at the foot of the basement. So I'm painting until the floor of the basement here. As you can see, my head is way below our front door level, so the hole here is more than 2 meters deep. And that's a really nice big hole here. So coating everything up, making sure it's all tight. Then I have to get the EPS in, and eventually we have to fill it all up again. And while I fill everything up, I need to vibrate it a few times in between to make sure it's all solid.
you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe so you get a notification when the next video comes online. Thank you for watching.